Going forward, our plan calls for each of our major businesses to contribute to our future success as we focus on repaying taxpayers, achieving growth, and balancing risks. While a tremendous amount of work remains to be done, and there are no guarantees in life, we believe we are on our way to regaining our stature as one of the world's largest and most successful property casualty insurance operations.
That's AIG CEO Robert Benmosche speaking about the company's latest quarterly results. Benmosche is optimistic, but remember, he sits at the helm of an insurance giant that still owes taxpayers about $70 billion of an $182 billion bailout. AIG just lost $9 billion in the most recent quarter, although that's an improvement over the record $62 billion it lost during the same period a year ago. AIG had posted 2 consecutive profitable quarters prior to this past quarter. Last quarter's losses mainly stem from AIG's sale of stakes in 2 large foreign life insurance companies to the U.S. government. In exchange, the Federal Reserve reduced the amount AIG has to repay the taxpayers by $25 billion. The company continues to sell off its non-core businesses and uses the proceeds to repay taxpayers. But AIG still hasn't paid a dime of its loans back. It also continued to caution that it might need even more money if the financial markets take a turn for the worse. What's potentially even more troubling is that AIG has decided not to unwind its entire controversial portfolio of derivatives. Those are the same assets that plummeted in value during the housing crisis and nearly brought the company to its knees. AIG said it is keeping up to $500 billion of those derivatives to take advantage of the strengthening financial markets. But the chance of paying the taxpayers back at a little bit sooner may not be worth the risk of seeing those assets' value tumble again. AIG still has a long way to go before it can even become a shadow of its former self. In the meantime, Bob Benmosche's enthusiasm may be a little overdone.